first one that we're going to do is docket number 2012-0185, approval for the biodiesel supply contract with Aina Koa Pono HELCO and the proposed biofuel surcharge provision and other related matters. So we're going to take that one first. And then the second hearing will be on docket number 2012-0099, the approval of rate increases, revived rate schedules, and other tariff rules for Hawaii Electric Light Company. My name is Hermina Morita. I'm the chair of the Public Utilities Commission, and to my immediate right is Commissioner Lorraine Akiba, and then to my far right is Commissioner Michael Champley. So again, I'd like to open this public hearing for docket number 2012-0185, HELCO approval of biodiesel supply contract with Aina Koa Pono HELCO, the proposed biofuel surcharge provisions and other related matters. We're going to begin the testimony with HELCO, followed by the Consumer Advocate, and then anyone from the public that has signed up to testify. Because of the number of testifiers tonight from the public, we're going to limit your comments to 3 minutes each. You have the ability to send in your written comments to us as we begin our investigation. I believe we'll be taking comments up until November 30th. Is that correct, Michael? Okay. So public comments can be submitted until November 30th. So, Mr. Ignacio.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Commissioners, ladies and gentlemen. Aloha. My name is Jay Ignacio, President of Hawaii Electric Light Company. In this docket, Hawaii Electric Light Company and Hawaiian Electric are seeking Commission approval for a biodiesel supply contract with Aina Koa Pono HELCO to buy approximately 16 million gallons of locally produced biofuel over 20 years. HELCO is seeking the cost recovery of such biofuel through its energy cost adjustment clause. And HELCO and Hawaiian Electric together are seeking establishment of a biofuel surcharge provision that will apply to customers of HELCO and Hawaiian Electric. Here on Hawaii Island, HELCO already met more than 41% of our customers' energy needs from renewable sources in 2011. And we believe we can take that leadership even further. Our island has a real opportunity to get to 100% of our electricity from renewable resources. The reason for such an ambitious goal is well known. Our state is 90% dependent on imported fossil fuels for all of our energy needs. This is no longer sustainable. It threatens our energy security and economic well-being in our environment. To address this, in addition to strongly supporting energy efficiency, our utilities are adding significant amounts of renewable energy from a portfolio of resources, including solar, wind, geothermal, garbage to energy, biomass, ocean, and others. With a goal of 100% renewable energy at stable and lower prices than petroleum oil, there is room for us to pursue all options. Biofuels plays an important role in this energy future too. Because most of Hawaii's conventional generators use liquid fossil fuel oil, we have an opportunity that most other places do not. We can transition to the future using existing facilities and replace the use of fossil fuel with other liquid fuels, one of which is renewable biofuel. Successful testing of our biofuel blends in our units on Oahu and Maui confirms that this transition is technically possible. The ideal is to use as much locally grown biofuel as possible. To help achieve this, in April 2010, Hawaiian Electric issued requests for proposals to supply locally produced biofuels. The AKP contract for which we are seeking approval will supply 14 to 16 million gallons per year, beginning as early as year 2015. This will be locally produced biofuel for use in our generating units to increase energy independence, spend energy dollars locally, create jobs, reduce vulnerability to volatile oil prices. The contract will also signal to landowners and agricultural interests that the Hawaiian Electric companies are committed to using locally produced fuels and are signing contracts that create a workable business model for agricultural energy crops to take root in Hawaii. It will also create a renewable fuel supply for firm power that is transportable and thus can be used anywhere in the world. Initially, locally grown and processed biodiesel provided by AKP will be used at Keohole Power Plant on Hawaii Island. There is flexibility in the contract to allow the biofuel from AKP to be used in other units on the Hawaii Island or in generators on other islands. While it is anticipated that initially the biofuel from AKP will be higher in cost and price of diesel fuel at the start of biofuel delivery, it is estimated to be well below petroleum oil prices in the long run. In our view, where prices are headed, the AKP contract will save customers over $500 million in its 20-year life. It is a fixed price formula that serves as a hedge against the rising cost of oil and can help support the development of local agriculture. It is in the best interest of our customers, and that is why we think it is so important. In this docket, the companies ask for commission approval to spread the cost difference between the locally grown and produced biofuel and the petroleum diesel it replaces amongst customers of both HELCO and Hawaiian Electric. The legislature in 2010 and in the last session gave the commission explicit authority to do this. This makes sense for many reasons. Reducing Hawaii's use of imported oil benefits everyone in Hawaii. There is less risk of supply disruption with homegrown biofuel supplies. The money we spend on local biofuels stays here, creating jobs and reviving agriculture. As noted, this contract provides for potential future delivery of biofuels to other islands, making it reasonable that other customers join in paying the initial incremental higher costs until the cost of petroleum diesel equals and passes the fixed cost of biofuel. Fossil fuel oil prices are expected to continue their erratic climbs. In time, the cost of AKP biodiesel is expected to be less than the cost of the fuel it displaces. At this time, sharing the incremental cost of biofuel over fossil fuel could be about 0.2 cents or approximately 84 cents to $1 per month to the average residential bill of 500 to 600 kilowatt hour per month, which is the typical residential customer bill for Hawaii Island and Oahu. Hawaii Island already has the highest level of renewable energy in the state, getting more than 41% of its energy from renewable resources. The current RPS law aggregates the new renewable energy in all of the Hawaiian Electric Company's service territories. So Oahu has benefited from Hawaii Island's leadership. At the same time, AKP must work closely with the Kau community to address concerns residents have before, during, and after construction. We believe that AKP is sincerely committed to doing this. If we are serious about moving Hawaii away from the near total dependence on imported oil, we must begin to address this issue together as a state. Hawaii Island customers are helping to create a local market that uses existing generation facilities to increase our use of local energy resources, increases our energy security, and provides economic benefits, including support for local agriculture. In conclusion, should members of the public have questions regarding this biofuel supply contract and surcharge provision, my staff and I will be available after the hearing to answer questions and provide further details. I thank the Commission for this opportunity to describe this contract and its role in helping to transition the state of Hawaii to a clean, renewable energy future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ignacio. Next
Ita, Commissioner Akiba, Commissioner Champley. My name is Jeff Ono. I'm the Executive Director of the Division of Consumer Advocacy from the Department of Commerce and Consumer Affairs for the state of Hawaii. It is the role of the consumer advocate to take an independent look at this supply contract between. It's the role of the consumer advocate to take an independent look at the supply agreement between Aina Koa Pono and HELCO. In this regard, we are to make a recommendation to the Commission as to whether this contract is just, reasonable, and in the interests of consumers. Now, I'm going to stand on the written testimony that I've already provided, but I wanted to add this. This docket will be given careful scrutiny. The Commission is looking at this biodiesel contract much differently than it has looked at supply contracts in the past. Normally, parties would submit a statement of position and they would basically argue their respective positions. The Commission in this docket has ordered that testimony be submitted instead of statements of position. This means that our positions must be carefully supported by testimonial evidence and exhibits. The consumer advocate and other parties are currently in the process of determining who will testify, what they will say, and what exhibits we will be using. It's a difficult process. This time, the time to review the Aina Koa Pono and HELCO contract will take longer than usual. We're still working on a new procedural schedule, but I'm going to predict that we won't be done with the discovery process until sometime in May of next year. The Commission for this docket has also expanded the issues to include economic externalities that need to be considered. And these are important considerations. The consumer advocate will attempt to address each and every one of the issues that have been identified by this Commission. For example, the Commission asks, what ratepayer risk should the Commission consider in evaluating the biodiesel supply contract? The consumer advocate will hope to address this question, as well as the question of what risk should ratepayers be asked to assume concerning the future price of imported foreign oil. Is there value in having a fixed price for biodiesel that is currently priced higher than petroleum diesel, where the price of oil has notoriously been unpredictable and significantly higher than the forecasted price that experts in the field have come up with? But tonight, I'm here to listen to what the public has to say. And in that regard, let me give you contact information for the Consumer Advocate's office. The email address is consumeradvocate@dcca.hawaii.gov. That's consumeradvocate@dcca.hawaii.gov. Or you can always phone our office at 808-586-2800. My name again is Jeff Ono. You can ask for me if you call that number. If you would like to mail letters to us, the mailing address is 335 Merchant Street, number 326, Honolulu, 96813. Thank you.
Repeat that number again.
Mr. Ono, could you repeat the number?
Thank you. The email is consumeradvocate@dcca.hawaii.gov. Phone number is 808-586-2800. Mailing address 335 Merchant Street, number 326, Honolulu, 96813. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ono. We're going to begin the public testimony part of this hearing. And I'd like to remind the audience that you also have an opportunity to submit comments by November 30th. We have a number of testifiers before us. I think about 30 people have signed up so far. So I'd like to keep to a 3-minute limit. I ask that the audience not shout out comments or remarks. We have a court reporter that is transcribing everything for this hearing. So I don't want her to be distracted by people shouting. Again, come to the podium, you speak to the commissioners, and let's start with Henry Dimendanka, and then he's going to be followed by Ku'ule Ke Aloha Cooper.
Hello, folks. I'm a 25-year resident from the Big Island. I've never spoken to other people, so bear with me. In the 25 years I've been in the Big Island, I remember we had brownouts, and I remember the HELCO threatening with rolling blackouts because they weren't providing us with enough electricity that we needed. So some people came out.
Mr. Mendanka, the mic closer.
So some people came up and started providing electricity, you know, and Tahiti power, geothermal, and whatever. And as far as I understand, they got paid by avoided costs. In other words, the money that wouldn't pay to the sheiks, you know, and Chavez and so on and so forth, got paid to local people that produce local jobs at a lower cost than it's produced with oil. Now we have this gentleman over here telling us that somehow he knows what's going to happen to oil for the next 20 years. He was willing to pay on this economy when everybody's hurting. Nobody's got any money. Prices are going up like hell. And he comes up with a brilliant idea. Instead of supporting what we already have, what's already proved to be much cheaper than oil, he comes up with a brilliant idea that he won't even tell us, the customer, how much it's going to cost all of us 20 years. How much would it cost us per barrel? But he wants us to pay for it. Now, it's kind of a joke, you know, that those people that they are supposed to provide electricity, they brag that we're at 41%. How much does HELCO provide? According to Mr. Beck sitting right there, that called me the guy with the biggest chip on his shoulder because I went to ask him questions about the company, they only provide 5%. 5% of green power is generated. All HELCO knows how to do is burn fossil fuels, burn biodiesel, and burn the client's money. That's all they know how to do. They don't care. They don't provide any service. I have called because I had two buildings within 25 days in the calendar month, and Mr. Torowara there never called me back. For 2 weeks I called them back. They're not doing anything. They don't care about the client. And if you look on their ads, they got a 3% profit margin. So the more they pay for the oil, that 3% gets a lot bigger. There's absolutely no reason why we should be investing in, you know, on something that costs far more than oil costs right now and be stuck with it for 20 years, and we don't even know where the bill is coming from. And the other thing that the HELCO is doing, besides trying, you know, to renegotiate, they're trying to rob Peter, the people that saved them for years, to pay Paul, to pay these new guys that are going to get about, you know, for what I understand, over $200 a barrel.
Mr. Mendanka, can you wrap it up?
It's unbelievable, it's unfair, they don't provide any service, they just rip off the public, and we should bet on green energies that don't burn fossil fuels or burn any kind of fuels, because the avoided cost is not just in dollars, it's in the environment. And what the alternative they're offering is a far more expensive alternative, and it will pollute the environment more than hydro, than solar, than wind, and probably geothermal. I've said it, thank you.
Thank you. Ku'ule Ke Aloha Cooper, followed by Miliani Trask.
Good evening. Thank you for having us and hearing us. And I trust you will listen to each one carefully, give it very careful consideration, and also please reminding everyone. Sorry. I'm not used to this, pardon me. Please, everyone needs to
A
submit
little bit closer.
their testimony by November 30th. Please tell everyone that you know to write in and make your voices heard. I would like to start by saying, first of all, as a Kanaka Maoli, it concerns me with this particular project that we will be changing Ka'u forever. There are times that we need to affect change, and I trust you in your position will consider all aspects, not just cost, but the people of Ka'u that this will affect forever. Our mo'opuna and their children. We need to make change, but this may not necessarily be the best change for our people as a whole. This island is already host to the only geothermal plant here, which is working. It is hopefully proven, that the price will come down eventually. Aina Koa Pono, I'm not so certain in my layman brain from what I've learned and what I've gathered as information, to have forward thinking, as it's called, utilizing the numbers of $200 a barrel for oil perhaps may happen, but is an unknown. And to base this decision that will affect each one of us and our families, not only on this island, but in the state of Hawaii, on the cost involved in this current economy, is not prudent, nor is it wise. And I would like to please add that the County Council of the County of Hawaii had put forth a resolution by the Honorable Mr. J. Yoshimoto, who I see here, County Council Resolution 297-12, Communication 822, which was merely a suggestion that the PUC in the state of Hawaii assist us as we pay the highest rates in the nation and bring the price down. The county of this Hawaii Council has asked that. And I would like to please ask that the Commission consider putting this decision off until bills like House Bill 2400, which was deferred, is revisited among other bills that will change laws in the state of Hawaii that will help you to make these kinds of decisions, because we know you are bound by state law. I ask you to please take serious consideration as you make these very, very, very important decisions. The first proposal for Aina Koa Pono was $125 million more. Now at the second go round, it's a lot less for them, but maybe Robert Clark, who sits on their board, the ex-CEO and president of Hawaiian Electric, who also sits on ORMRAT's board, is assisting them. But I trust that you will make good, sound judgments. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mrs. Cooper. Mililani Trask, followed by Corey Harden.
Aloha PUC Commissioners, welcome to Hilo. I'm Mililani Trask. I live here. I'm a taxpayer, a ratepayer, and the principal of Indigenous Consultants. I've worked in the field of energy for 13 years with Native peoples globally. I'm here to present this testimony as a ratepayer, testimony against both of these dockets. For many years, HECO has come to expect that whenever they put forward an application to this body, whenever they ask for an increase, they're going to get it automatically rubber stamped. And they expect that because back in 2008, the governor of our state, Linda Lingle, entered into an executive agreement with the HECO monopoly. This agreement was not approved by the state legislature, which did not see the Hawaii Clean Energy Initiative until 2009. But in October 2008, Linda Lingle as governor entered into an executive contract with the HECO monopoly, and in that contract, which I reviewed, the state agreed to support, maintain, and preserve a HECO monopoly to the exclusion of other transmitters. The state agreed to accept as its own the business risk of the HECO monopoly, and the state agreed to pass on all costs for HECO's business to the ratepayers of our state. At the same time, Linda Lingle agreed that HECO should be allowed to issue hybrid stock on the public market so that they could continue to take in millions of dollars while passing on business costs to every single ratepayer. In addition, and most egregiously, the state of Hawaii agreed that we as ratepayers should not be given the protection of federal PURPA law. Now, the Congress passed the federal PURPA law to ensure that there would not be energy monopolies in this country and to guarantee a fair and reasonable rate to ratepayers. In this document that was negotiated in October 2008, the state agreed that we should not have the protection of federal PURPA law, and that is why HECO continues to return, seeking benefits under the agreement and calling for it to be rescinded. And tomorrow, Senator Solomon will give to you a petition with 1,000 signatures of ratepayers from our island. We're asking you to support our effort to rescind the agreement of October 2008. It's pretty clear what is happening here. Every month, we pick up the paper and read it, and the paper reports how many homes have burned down because families are trying to live off of candlelight. In the meantime, HECO is paying a benefit package of $5.29 million to their board members. This is a breach of trust and a violation of antitrust law. Thank you.
Followed by John Ota.
Good evening, I'm Corinne Harden with Sierra Club Mokuloa Group. Thank you for holding this hearing in Hilo, and thank you for rejecting the 2011 Aina Koa Pono HELCO contract that would have added a surcharge of about $2 to the average bill. We need to beware of costly renewable options that displace cheaper options. AKP does not have good answers to these questions. What criteria and planning process should government use when choosing projects to receive surcharge subsidies? Why is AKP asking ratepayers to subsidize development and testing of unproved crops and technology? What kind of project could AKP do with no surcharge? Wouldn't fueling the Keohole plant with AKP biofuel cost far more than replacing Keohole with a geothermal plant? If the Keohole plant must be modified to use the biofuel, who will pay? It might need modifications to equipment and fuel delivery infrastructure, and it may need to change procedures for environmental compliance, operation, and maintenance. If AKP is funded in part by customer subsidies and then it goes out of business, how will customers be reimbursed? Is there a requirement for Mansfield Oil Company, the distributor, to sell a minimum amount or percentage of biofuel in Hawaii? Will AKP meet the reliability regulations expected from the Reliability Standards Working Group and the Minimum Load and Curtailment Subgroup? Will the AKP environmental assessment meet state and or federal standards? Will it include hearings, public comments, and responses? If proposed mitigation is not done, what will the consequences be? We also have many specific concerns. Water, as AKP factored climate change, drought, and water sources into its plans. How would their water use impact residents using the same sources? How would we be sure that runoff from clearing, grubbing, and grading on slopes would not impact the Class AA waters downslope? And there's lots more. I gave it to you in writing, but we have many, many concerns. Thank you.
Thank you. John Ota, followed by Ron Self.
My name is John Ota, born and raised on this island. I am opposed to the AKP and HELCO contract. This hearing needs to be held in Kau, where the people will endure the severe impact of this project. Their opinion on the project, equipment, acreage, farming, transportation equipment, pollution, and etc. should be of a major concern. The biofuel proposed by Aina Koa Pono in Kau is an unproven operation. Reliability of the equipment, procedures, and producing 16 million gallons per year of biofuel for HELCO and 8 million gallons per year for Marathon Oil for 20 years may or may not be a reality. Why are there 3 separate source materials listed for conversion to biofuel in docket 2012-0185, docket 2012-0099, AKP HELCO biofuel contract? Why? What hidden material will be used under the generalized wordings? Specify the exact names of plants, shrubs, etc. under the wording agriculture feedstock stated in the document, will Jathrova, a toxic plant, which could be a called shrub or tree, be included as a source material? Under this proposal, transport and fuel from Kau through Old Kona Town, narrow, windy, two-lane roads, will create vehicular traffic problems for residents and businesses. Source material for conversion to biofuel is not specific. Without the specifics, AKP could grow toxic material for conversion to biofuel. There existing laws to cover the toxic emission, plant material, leaves, processing procedure that this source material will produce. Ricin, that's the white powder that shut down post office and the Senate building, can be produced from this plant.
Okay, Mr. Ota, can you recognize?
Why must the customers of this island pay twice for oil, additional charges, plus a storage tank that currently exists? Why should the customers of this island shoulder the additional cost to generate the electricity program for Oahu? Why must island customers be the scapegoat for this unproven project?
Thank you, Mr. Ota. Ron Self, followed by James Kadinhi.
Thank you very much for coming here, Commission. And to all of you, my name's Ron Self. I live in Kau. I live in Wood Valley, about a half mile or less from where the proposed diesel refinery is to be put. First of all, I'd like everyone to realize
Mr.
that...
Self, could you address the commission, please?
I will, thank you. I wish that this commission realized how far away Kau is from where you are now. The furthest reaches of Kau are probably over 100 miles away. And the same is true from Kona to Kau. So Kau is a great distance away. It is larger than your island of Oahu, where I believe you come from. You come from, I guess, a smaller island also. What is really important is that 12,000 acres will produce at most 1.6 million gallons of diesel fuel in 1 year. What AKP is proposing is to sell 20 million gallons per year. How are they going to produce that? I have submitted to this commission reports that detail this data as far as what is produced per acre, per gallon per year. And if you look at that, you can tell that there's no way that this project will work. 1/20th of what they're proposing can be produced from the grasses and other products that they're talking about. And I think that is the most important point. Not to mention that they're trying to finance this entire project on the backs of the people of this state. And I think this commission owes the duty to this body and to these people to decline to allow any increase or support for this unreasonable proposition. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Self. James Kadinhi, followed by John Cross.
Good evening. In what seems to have been a past life, I spent 24 years in Hawaii, 22 years on the Big Island, and 16 years in Pahala, working as a superintendent.
The mic a little closer.
Working as a superintendent of the sugar mill, coaching high school athletics, football and soccer, and becoming part of the community. It was a vibrant community in Ohana where everyone worked hard and helped one another. But more than that, they were knowledgeable and professional workers who managed to make the best quality sugar in the world. When the mill closed and Ka'u became a derelict area with no chance for betterment, families were torn apart as they were forced to leave to find employment. I was one of those who was forced to leave Ka'u. Those who stayed struggled, not only economically, but emotionally, due to the futility of not being able to help themselves. Aina Koa Pono is an opportunity using private funds to inject life into a depressed area. If successful, the venture will spread to other islands. It is almost a perfect synergistic energy because it is sustainable, produces a marketable, valuable product with almost no pollution, zero discharge. It would initially take invasive plants and remove them from the ecosystem, and then would replace them with productive, sustainable crops on lands which had been used for sugarcane for over 100 years, with no environmental, ecological, or cultural changes. It would not only supply jobs directly, but also create jobs associated with production, that is industrial equipment parts, service community. Economically, for every dollar spent in production, $6 of revenue is generated within a community. The direct permanent employment of 200 people would generate $22 million, and therefore would generate another $132 million in direct revenues within the state. It is about time that we support ourselves rather than foreign nations.
Hey, Mr. Goody, can you
Yes.
wrap it up?
Yes. Okay. Basically, what I'm saying here is that there are many alternative solutions, but Aina Koa Pono is ready today. So let's use it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kadihi. John Cross, followed by Jerry Kadihi.
Aloha, members of the Public Utilities Commission and Chairman Morita. My name is John Cross. I am a former sugarcane grower. I was Director of Research and Crop Control for Mauna Kea Sugar, and I also worked at Puna Sugar and Ka'u Agribusiness. I am in support of the production of biodiesel. I think high fiber cane species would be very good for the production of feedstock for the biodiesel process. I have test plots currently growing along Wood Valley Road in Ka'u. If you drive up the road, they're there for all to see. Last week, a person who is quite vocally against Aina Koa Pono came into my office in Pahala and proceeded to rail into how wrong the project is. We just heard from him a few persons earlier. I stopped him a few sentences into his speech and asked him, do you support the concept of growing and producing your own diesel to replace that of imported fossil fuels? He said yes, but the way Aina Koa Pono is doing it is all wrong. I then reiterated, so you and I both agree that producing our own biodiesel is good. He again said yes, but not the project that AKP is proposing. So right then and there I realized that the concept of growing our own fuels, producing our own energy, harvesting our own sunlight, harnessing the wind, the water, the heat from the earth is a common goal to all of us. We need to be more self-sufficient and less dependent on imported fossil fuel. There appears to be common ground that we can all stand together on. So the end result is okay, but the way it's being proposed is not acceptable, and to many in this room, not acceptable here tonight. I do not want my electricity rates to go up. I do not want the bills of my employees to go up. I do not want the county or the hospitals or the schools to spend millions more. I want them actually to spend less. So how do we move forward? We need research into biofuels. We need investors like Aina Koa Pono putting their own money forward to show us it can work. If they can show that this new microwave technology can produce viable, economical fuels, then we have moved the world that much further towards self-sufficiency. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cross. Jerry Kadihi, followed by Guy Enriquez.
Kau, where I taught English at Kau High School. In 1996, Kau Sugar closed.
Mrs. Kadi, can you put it?
Yes, sorry. In 1996, Kau Sugar closed. So our entire family moved to Louisiana. I was also a third-generation sugar grower at Hilo Hawaii processing company and the treasurer for United Cane Planters. And I had to see 2 sugar companies close. For 16 years, we've been trying to return to the island. We need jobs in Kau. The lack of jobs in Kau predates the Great Recession of 2008 that began in 2008. It has created devastating personal hardships for Kau. Families are breaking up in Kau under the enormous financial stress. Our children are committing suicides. A Filipino daughter hung herself. A Hawaiian son also hung himself. And a Filipino son killed himself with a gun. For the sake of our children, we're supporting the Kau Energy Farm project. Have any of you been to Pahala lately? We have no restaurants. Today is Monday. Our Pahala Community School Library was opened only from 11 to 4, only on Mondays. Kau Energy Farm will provide good jobs at unit wages. According to the 2011 Hawaii State Occupational Wages Estimates, these are some of the average salaries that workers made. As I say, it's 2011 estimates. Machinist, $29 an hour. Electrician, about $33 an hour.
Mrs. Kadi, can you wrap it up?
We have promised that it will be Apex certification, earthquake proof. Douglas Bentorn has repeatedly explained that the Faraday cage, which is ceramic covering the microwave retort or microwave oven, which is also enclosed with steel, will not allow microwave leakage.
Mrs. Kadi, you can submit your testimony to us and we can read it.
Finally, I want to say lastly that we all need to work together as we're doing in Louisiana.
Okay, thank you. Guy Enriquez, followed by Richard Ha.
I want to thank the PUC for hearing this particular situation for all of us here in the island. Aloha, my name is Guy Enriquez. I'm a resident of Kau, and I'm here to speak on behalf of the AKP contract. I believe there are 2 major concerns. One, whether this project is going to work, and 2, no one wants a rate hike, especially in this economy. 5 days ago, I was in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I went to see the exact particular machine that's going to create, that AKP is going to use to produce their biofuel. From what I saw and what was explained to me, they use the old technology of microwave, but with new application. It is a brand new technology. It's nowhere else in the US. There's no other machine like it. And from everything that was told to me and from the process that I witnessed, it works. Now, I think everyone in this room agrees that we need to move out of the dependency of oil and move to renewable sources of energy. And no matter what renewable source you favor, or how long it takes to get it on this grid, HELCO will still need oil to run their generators. The generators are the stabling element of our grid and how we produce electricity. When the winds don't blow, when the water doesn't flow, when the sun sets, it is that generator that provides us the stability of electricity that we all, like the first guy stated, we all demand. The question is, do we want to import oil and continue to do so, or do we want to just try and explore the possibility of homegrown biofuels? My neighbor invested $30,000 for solar energy. He hopes to be recouped in 6 to 8 years. I look at this rate hike as that same kind of investment. It is a rate hike, I don't like it. But I can look at it as a glass that is half full or half empty. I choose half full. Okay? Lastly, since I have a little bit more, the KAU CDP is the voice of the people. And the number one thing on that CDP is economic development. And listed on that is agriculture, which is the feedstock, and also biofuels. There is a risk in what we do. I'll summarize right now. But if we risk nothing, all of us here have nothing to hope for. We might avoid failure if we choose not to, but we forfeit our freedom for growth and prosperity, something KAU has done for a long time. So I thank you again, but think of people of KAU, just like the lady said before. I live it, and remember the CDP. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Enriquez. Richard Ha, followed by Earl Lewis.
Aloha, Chair, Marita, and Commissioners. Mahalo for the opportunity to speak on behalf of my farm workers and the rubber slipper folks. My name is Richard Ha. My family, workers, and I represent 35 years of farming. We farm 600 acres, fee simple, diversified crops down the coast. Farming is hard, and it has been difficult to raise our workers' pay. They want better for their children. Advocating for low-cost electricity is one way I can help them help their families. Rising electricity costs equal rising food costs. Farmers, distributors, retailers who use lots of refrigeration are all affected by rising electricity rates, costs. The costs are passed on to consumers who have less discretionary income to supply local farmers. So rising electricity costs affect our food security. On the mainland, less than 2% of the electricity is made using oil. In Hawaii, it is more than 70%. Food manufactured on the mainland with oil, with electricity embedded, becomes more competitive compared to the same things manufactured here in Hawaii. This also affects our food security. The Big Island has the lowest median family income in the state, yet our electricity costs have been 25% higher than Oahu's rate for as long as anyone can remember. We get more federal support for electricity bill subsidies per capita than the rest of the state, but that is still not adequate. Adding more to this economic burden is unconscionable. Rising electricity rates act like a giant regressive tax. It is the most defenseless among us who get affected the most. Seniors of fixed income, single moms, working homeless, small businesses, but it's even worse than a regressive tax. Rising electricity rates cause more people to leave the grid, leaving the folks who cannot leave to pay even more. Energy costs and electricity costs have quadrupled during the last 10 years. Folks are getting to the edge cliff of Kobe. So for survival's sake, we must say no more price. We want lower cost of electricity. And especially on the Big Island where there are alternatives, we should focus on low cost. The rubber slipper folks have paid more than their share of rising electricity costs. We do not want to pay the equivalent of $200 per barrel for biofuel when something cheaper will.
Thank you, Mr. Ha. Earl Lewis, followed by Chris Eldridge.
Aloha to the commission and to everybody here. You know, I'm a resident of Kau. And you know, to me, AKP brought up a lot of people with their money and speak, you know.
Mr. Lewis, you face the commissioners.
You know, a lot of people got brought up to, you know, propose for this project. And you know, I say, I'll talk to you guys next year. I hope you guys do my comments, you know, whatever. But, you know, the part of Kau, you know, if you guys go there and visit where they like build a refinery, it's one of the beautiful, pristine lands on earth on this whole island. You're not gonna find no different alternative view and pristine land that they like bring this endangered species of plants to destroy this beautiful land, 12,000 acres. And you know, 12,000 acres cannot produce a 24 facility, you know, producing this matter. So to me, you know, what is the alternative move? You know, we get solar here on this island, we get hydro, you get geothermal. Why is you know, you want to bring big trucks to haul all this diesel fuel from Kau to Kona, you know, costing a lot of money just to do all this? You know, to me, it's a waste of money, waste of time. And you know, last year you guys came to Kau, and a lot of people in Kau was against this, AKP. So to me, why this meeting is not holding Pahala? You know, why are you holding it someplace else where it's not holding in the district of Kau? So to me, you know, you walk to the Wood Valley, you're gonna see a huge rock that Mr. Ed Osman dropped and said, Malama Aina. Malama Aina means you're gonna take care of the land and not desecrate it. Hawaii word is strong. When you mention the Hawaiian name, Mr. Olsen should keep his word and protect that land of Kau. When you say Malama, Malama is being taken care of. So, you know, when you use a statement of a Hawaiian name on a rock, it's going to be there forever. You know, keep your word. Don't desecrate that name. Don't use our Hawaiian name to you know, propose you Malama Rai. You know, Mr. Olsen is very good. He's doing coffee, you know.
Mr. Lewis, can you wrap it up?
You know, he's doing a lot of coffee from there. You know, me, that is the alternative. And you know what? Kau is doing really fine. People are surviving, and there's no economic depression in Kau. You know, people are surviving on self-sufficient, raising farm. You know, don't listen to lies, because the truth is, Malama Aina, Mr. Olsen, keep your word.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis.
Don't put it on the rock, because you know, Hawaiians always come back to haunt you in other ways.
Thank you, Lewis.
Good evening, Chair Rita, Commissioners. I'm Chris Eldridge, a partner with Aina Koa Pono. I've submitted detailed testimony regarding the many reasons why AKP is good for Hawaii, but I wanted to address the one hot button item regarding the biofuel surcharge provision. First of all, there seems to be misunderstanding. The consumer funds the development of this project. This is not the case, and the surcharge, if any, will not take place until HELCO purchases fuel from AKP per the terms of the contract. Additionally, on day one of delivery of our fuel to Keahole, if the price of imported diesel has risen above the fuel cost, there is no surcharge. Our price is fixed, and it does not go up depending on exterior factors. Despite the misinformation spread by some, Keahole will be producing electricity for a long time to come. This is a fact, and it's not an opinion. The question is whether it's using imported fossil fuel, which the vast majority of experts predict will increase, or AKP's locally produced renewable fuel. The AKP HELCO contract also has the flexibility that allows the fuel to be moved. if kaolin is no longer needed, so there's no way impeding the growth of other renewables. Again, this is a fact and not opinion. Last time, pricing, community involvement, and technology questions were mentioned as the concerns from the PUC when the first contract was denied. The price has been substantially reduced, and it's estimated that over time, the biofuel surcharge will cross the rising cost of imported fuels and save consume approximately $500 million. As far as the technology goes, Sean Kelly from AECOM, who's our engineering and contracting firm, will discuss this in detail. But I wanted to point out, if the technology does not work, if it's not profitable, I think someone mentioned if there's not enough feedstock, if it's not safe, it'll never get financed and it won't be built, so there's nothing to worry about. Again, this project is financed by private money, not the consumer. As far as the community, AK principals are meeting with the community and getting input and guidance regarding their concerns. I've personally been spending time weekly talking to community, labor, as well as business people. We have also made plans to locate a single 33-ton unit on island as soon as it can be tested and accepted, so that the community can see this in operation. Okay. So the community can see this in operation. This unit will be trailerable and no larger than 40 feet by 70 feet. Again, a unit on a trailer no larger than 40 by 70 feet. Some final points I'd like to make: there are no GMOs that will be considered as feedstock. There'll be no invasive species or garbage, as this is strictly prohibited in the terms of our contract, and we are committed to the careful and planned use of the natural resources. Finally, AKP is not a mainland company. We have undergone some internal changes, and we understand that our approach with the community was wrong. We apologize for that, and we're committed to do a better job. On behalf of the AKP team, I wanted to thank you for our time.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Eldred. Sean Kelly, and after Mr. Kelly, we're going to take a 10-minute break to give our court reporter a break. Okay?
Good evening, Madam Chairman and Commissioners. My name is Sean Kelly. I work for a company called AECOM. AECOM employs around 350 to 400 people on Oahu, with 15 or 20 that live here on the Big Island and come back and forth on the weekends. AECOM is ranked the largest engineering and design firm by Engineering News Record
in the United States. We embrace sustainability and the environment. Very, very, very important piece of our business.
The plant itself that we're designing for AKP is 100% sustainable. It requires no water other than when we start the plant up. We need about 500,000 gallons of water to fill up our fire water tanks, to fill up our potable water tanks, and that type of thing. After that, we'll be sustainable with the water that we create from the cellulose. We don't use a food product to make our fuel. Therefore, the cost of food will not rise because of this fuel. Most other biofuel technologies use a flame, and that flame actually starts to disseminate all the carbon and puts it in the air. The micro-D does not. We sequester 95 to 98% of the carbon in the fuel that we make in the biochar. AECOM has committed substantial resources at our own risk to assist the owners of AKP of the technology to get it go commercial. The technology is almost there. We've run it at 2.1 tons per day. We've made diesel, we've made a little naphtha, we've made some great char, and the product coming off of it has been fantastic so far. At contract execution, AECOM will issue a performance and payment bond for the project and its stakeholders. And again, as Chris stated, they get paid by the gallon and not by the project. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. We're going to take a 10-minute break. Okay? Recess.